afternoon. We are live. You have joined us on the Blue Play Special. I'm Andy Andrews. We're at Wisdom Harbor Studios here in Orange Beach, Alabama at the Wharf, home of the famous Marlin statues and the famous escalator statues. Hey, like my shirt. The shirt is from Sand Dollar Lifestyles. Kindness is nonpartisan. Truth is truth. So when you visit us and you take your picture with the escalator statues and you come in here, make sure you go to the Sand Dollar Lifestyle store where they have like gajillions of shirts. If you're new to us and joining on Facebook today, please press that notification button and turn the notifications on your phone. That way when we go live here at Wisdom Harbor Studios, for any reason, you will be notified. And also, please share. We got a very important show today. It's a very serious show today. It's my 7 top movies and why. So, you might want to share this. We'll have fun. You might learn something. I might learn something. We'll definitely laugh. Teresa Roller Haight, hey, from Mobile. Sherry Cummins from DFW. Carl Scraby, want to know what we're going to eat? Well, that's up to you, buddy, because you're not here. So you're there. And whatever you want to eat is fine with us. Just don't smack. Don't chew your mouth open. Terry Lundy, hi, from Colorado. Jeanette McDeal, Groves Proctor, hello from Arlington, Texas. Marcy Cross Taylor from Pasco, Washington, where it is sunny and cooler. Hi to the Twitter people and to YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, click that subscription button. That's very important to us. That helps us a lot. Costs you nothing, helps us a lot. And if you're not on YouTube, just when you think about it, go to YouTube. Call up one of our videos and click that subscription button. Michael, hey, from Nashville, Tennessee. I was just up in Nashville end of last week. Darla, Lynn, and Jim are in studio. You guys, now, how are y'all doing? I'm so glad you guys are here. So glad. We've got a very serious show today. Very serious about movies, and I mean we're actually serious about humor here. So that's why it's probably very serious. From Pensacola. No, who is this? Who is this? Fred. I'll be darned. And we met in Gander Mountain when they were closing. Was that you? But yeah, they are closed now. Denise Forbes from Paris, Texas. You guys are coming to see us in October? Awesome. That's going to be great. October's a good month to be down here because after the Shrimp Festival, the tourists have left and the snowbirds aren't here yet. And so you could like play frisbee on the beach road here and not hit anything. Johnny Hall, Durham, North Carolina. Christine Mansell from Lakeland, Florida. George P. Coster III. Do you like that picture of the Blue Angels? I took that. I took all those, actually, but I took that one like a month ago. So, and we just put it up right before the show started. So, yeah, love the Blue Angels. They practice near us, so we see them a lot. And, of course, on Sunday afternoons, they buzz the Floribama, which is across from us. And why did they buzz the Floribama? Because Blue Angel pilots drink free. That's why. And so they come down at like water level, you know, it's just like unbelievable. Ken Hartley, hello from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Hey, you know, today is Tuesday. On Thursday, we're going to be premiering a new video from the Songs of the Seven Decision. It's video number 6. I will greet this day with a forgiving spirit. And we've already seen it, and we were like, oh my gosh, that might be the best one yet. So that one will be put out there and available on streaming and available for you to watch the video. But we'll be premiering that on Thursday. Now, you can go online right now and see 1 through 5 and download 1 through 5. But just giving you a heads up that on Thursday's show, on the Blue Plate Special, we'll be talking about this, and then we'll also be premiering that new video, which we think is the best one. Tina Allman, say hello to you. Okay. Hello, Tina. How's that? Becky Altenberry, the songs are awesome. Do you like the songs? Excuse me, we are just kind of freaking out over the songs with Albert and Armin, and just the job that they did with those. We're just kind of freaking out over them. So we're glad you like them, and let's get to the movies. You ready? Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, this is a purely arbitrary list. You don't have to agree with me. My family probably doesn't. They agree with me on several of these, but they don't have them in the same order. And my order on these, while these 7 generally stay in my top 10, the order, especially of 1, 2, and 3, just kind of change according to how I'm feeling or when I've watched it. And but I think that my list is probably eclectic enough that there's at least a couple on there that you haven't seen. I would just imagine. In fact, when we get to the end of the show, I would be really curious if anybody has seen all 7. Okay? I mean, I would just be curious if anybody has seen all 7 of what I consider my favorite. Now, we've got video clips of 5 of them. 4 of them we don't have. We've just got some explanations. I want to tell you, I'm going to tell you the year that the movies were made, and I want to tell you my personal experience with them, including how many times I have seen the movies. Okay, because there's probably maybe 30 or 40 movies in my life that I've seen more than once, and then you go down to like 15 or 20 that I've seen more than twice. But these are multiple viewings in these, and sometimes I stopped viewing some of them for a reason. I'll tell you that reason. But here we go. Okay, number 7. Number 7 came out in 1998, and this movie surprised me. I think it's on a lot of best lists, but the movie is Saving Private Ryan. And it was made by Spielberg, Tom Hanks. I also want to, on these 7 movies, I noticed as I was listing these 7 movies, I noticed an odd thing, and that was that in 7 movies you wouldn't think they would have that much in common, but there's some production teams that they have in common. There's some actors that they have in common, and I was kind of surprised to see who kind of kept showing up. But Tom Hanks, Matt Damon, Barry Pepper was in this movie, and the story is one about it begins on D-Day, or it begins a little before D-Day, and it tells the story of a mother who has had boys already die. I mean, they in the envelopes are sent to her house, and then the Secretary of War kind of notices this, and there's one guy out there, one son she has left, and so they send a platoon of guys to go and get Private Ryan and get him out of danger and get him home. And Private Ryan is played by Matt Damon, and Tom Hanks is the head of this. Now, you've probably seen this movie. I've seen it 4 times. When I saw it the first time, I immediately went back and saw it in the theater the second time. I was kind of blown away by this movie, and more than just the story. I think that Tom Hanks is like our generation's. Who's the guy? Harvey, like Jimmy Stewart. I think that Tom Hanks is our generation's Jimmy Stewart. I think he's awesome, and he did great in this movie. And you've probably seen it, but something happened when I watched that movie. I had when Mom and Dad died, I had worked in a bait shop for a couple of years afterwards, and there was an older gentleman who owned the bait shop, and his sons told me, they said, be careful around Daddy and, noise. I was like, really, what? And they said, well, Daddy doesn't react well to noise. I was like, okay. They said, yeah, he was in World War II, and he just doesn't react well to noise. And I was like, oh, okay, where was he? And they said, we don't know. He doesn't talk about it at all. So, okay. But about a year later, I was at the cash register, and I'd been through with the morning run of counting live shrimp, and I kind of got to a stopping place. Nobody else was in the store. I turned around, and Mr. Frith was sitting right behind me, just there kind of in the little cash register area and sitting on an upturned bucket, and just said, hey, and I said, hey, and we talked for a minute. And I just asked, I said, Mr. Frith, you were in World War II, right? He said, I was. I said, where did you fight? What was that like, if you don't mind telling me? And he told a story. Now, I'm like 20 years old at the time, 19, 20. And he told a story. It was very odd to me, but I understood why he had not told his family, or why he didn't talk about it. But he told a story. He said, I was there at D-Day, and we were landing on Omaha Beach, and it was dog green sector, and they started shooting us when the landing craft opened up, and the guy on the landing craft started turning around before he was to the beach, and we're piling out and we're sinking in, and he said I was kind of in the back, and so we were a little farther toward shore when I got out, and I was able to put my feet on the ground. And he said I got to the beach, and he said it was so loud that it got quiet. And I just looked around, and I was seeing everything, and it was just totally quiet. And then it got loud again, and then it got quiet. And he said I was going toward the cliff, and I was very aware. He said I had lost my helmet, and I kept looking because I thought somebody was grabbing at me, and it was bullets hitting my clothes. And he said I had my hair had grown out about that much, and it was hitting my hair and hitting my pants, and he said I got to the wall, to the cliff, and I was the only one who lived. And I was the only one in my platoon alive, and he said I didn't have a scratch on me, but I had, my clothes were like rags, and my hair was cut up, but then he said I wasn't bleeding, I didn't have a scratch. And so we talked a little bit after that, but then years later, when I saw Saving Private Ryan, it was all brought back to me when the landing craft opens and they're shooting people getting out early, and then Tom Hanks at the first of that movie is looking around, and it's so loud, and it gets quiet, and then it gets loud again, and then it gets quiet, and I I thought then, I said, wow, Mr. Frith hasn't talked about that or anything, but that must have been a common experience, because obviously Spielberg and Hanks, whoever's making that movie, I mean, you wouldn't just imagine that, I would guess. And so that was evidently a common experience that they wrote into that movie. So I've always just been amazed at the reality of that movie and how it hit me. And, love Mr. and Miss Frith and their family. But I knew that was a movie that if I ever had children, that was a movie that I had to make sure that my boys saw. And incidentally, the movie opens up Omaha Beach, Dahlgren sector, which is just eerie to me. But after seeing the movie 4 times, I've got it, and I just it's not something I continue to watch over and over, but I think it's one of the best ever. So that's number 7 on my list. Number 6, I don't know how many of you have seen this. This was made in 2001, and it was a movie that Heath Ledger did, and the movie's called A Knight's Tale. Okay, this movie, I've seen it more than 10 times, 10 plus times. The boys, Polly and I, love this movie, and this is one of the most brilliant movies for many different reasons. One is they use an old setting and used modern music, and they use a few modern references, but it's these 3 guys that work for this knight, and this guy is a squire of the knight, and they're headed to a tournament, and the knight dies. And so they decide that they're going to put this guy in the knight's armor and just show up anyway. And so the thing is how they pull this off, and the 2 guys with him are very funny, but the movie has a more than just a funny bent, because it's not silly, it's funny. There's a total difference, right? And the movie has an inspirational part of this, about this little boy, and the dad, put him in the care of this knight, hoping that he could change his stars, because the dad knew that generation after generation their family wouldn't do anything, and he's hoping this kid somehow change his stars. And then years later, when he shows up for this tournament, he gets reacquainted with his dad, who's blind then, and says, you change your stars. And it's just a brilliant movie. And so for this one, I want to show you the clip that is the trailer. This is not a specific clip from the movie, it's a trailer, just so you can kind of see what it's about. All right, roll it, Matt.
Someday, I'll be a knight.
Yes, William. If he believes enough, a man can do anything.
We could do this. In 1 month, we could be on our way to glory and riches none of us ever dreamed of.
You can't even joust. I think he's getting worse. He is getting worse.
I won't spend the rest of my life as nothing.
You have to be of noble birth to compete.
So we lie. My lords, my ladies, I have the pride, the privilege, nay, the pleasure of introducing to you a knight, sired by knights.
William Thatcher didn't make the rules. He was born
I've waited my whole life for this moment.
to break them.
Yes! Thank you, I'll be here all week.
Well, that was different.
And you are? Ulrich von Liechtenstein from Gelderland.
Sir Ulrich von Liechtenstein. I would have him win my heart.
You're my favourite knight.
He's He's won 4 tournaments in a row.
On a horse, that man is unbeatable.
You're just a silly boy with a horse and a stick.
It's called a lance. Hello?
If the nobles find out who you are, there'll be the devil to pay.
And pray that they don't.
Ulrich von Liechtenstein is not who he appears to be.
They're going to arrest you. 12 royal guards.
I love you. There's nothing else to do. Run, and I will run with you.
I will not run!
I'm a knight. I'm here to compete. Let's dance, you and I.
Your name makes no matter to me, so long as I can call you my own.
Trust me, this is a great movie. I just watched that trailer. I want to go home and watch it tonight. This is a great movie. By the way, the guy who was introducing him there, they ran into him on the road and he joined the band of 3. That was Chaucer. It was Geoffrey Chaucer, who becomes the MC of the events, and he goes, "Please welcome for your and he goes, "Thank you, I'll be here all week." It's just an awesome movie. Okay, number 5. Number 5, when I saw in 2008, 2009 that somebody was remaking True Grit, I had to come apart. It's like, really? Why would you remake a movie that's a classic, a movie that won an Academy Award? Why would you remake? Who would even dare to remake True Grit? And I was just kind of aggravated about it for a couple of years. And then Jerry and Anderson and I were out in California. We were doing a thing and had a night off and went to a theater, and there was like 20 movies, and we didn't want to see any of them. And the one we least wanted to not see was True Grit, the new one. So we're like, okay, we'll go in there. And about 15 minutes in, Jerry leaned over and said, "Are you liking this as much as I am?" I'm like, this is incredible. So we watched that movie. We came home. I immediately took Polly and the boys to the movie. Or Polly and Austin. I think Adam was a little too young. And then I've seen it at least 7 times since. This movie was made by the Coen brothers. And it has Jeff Bridges in it, who plays the Rooster Cogburn role. It has Matt Damon. Again, Matt Damon shows up in one of my favorite movies. And Barry Pepper, who was also in Saving Private Ryan. And Mike Williams says he watched the remake because I recommended it. Thank you. All right. Well, let me just tell you a couple of things about the movie that you'll notice that just every role was better. I mean, how could you get better than John Wayne? But Jeff Bridges did it. There were some side-by-side remakes of this scene, word for word, and yet they were different. One of the things that they took from the original book was, and I did not realize this until the second time I watched the movie, throughout the entire movie, there are no contractions. Please hold your fire. I did not know this man. I mean, there's no don'ts, no can'ts, no wouldn'ts, no contractions in the entire movie. So the language is an older style. And the girl who played Maddie Ross was a total unknown. She just got the part, total unknown, and she stole the movie. She was so good. So I don't know if you are familiar with the story, but Maddie Ross's father was, bringing ponies back, and he got bushwhacked. And so this bad guy killed him, stole some stuff, and so Maddie Ross she's 14, and she has shown up in the town, and she's determined to track this guy down, and she's determined to get her daddy's money back and her daddy's property back. And so this is a quick scene with Maddie Ross going into the owner of the livery stable and just the conversation that they have when she shows up in town.
I'm Maddie Ross, daughter of Frank Ross.
Oh, tragic, eh? May I say your father impressed me with his manly qualities. He was a close trader, but he acted the gentleman.
Well, I propose to sell those ponies back to you that my father bought.
Oh, that I fear is out of the question. I will see that they're shipped to you at my earliest convenience.
Well, we don't want the ponies now. We don't need them.
Well, that hardly concerns me. Your father bought the ponies and paid for them, and there's an end of it. I have the bill of sale.
And I want $300 for Papa's saddle horse that was stolen from your stable.
You have to take that up with a man who stole a horse.
Tom Chaney stole the horse while it was in your care. You are responsible.
Yeah, I admire your sand. But I believe you will find I'm not liable for such claims.
You were the custodian. If you were a bank ever robbed, you could not simply tell the depositors to go hang.
I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough. Secondly, your valuation of the horse is high by about $200. How old are you?
If anything, my price is low. Why, Judy is a fine racing mare. I've seen her jump an 8-rail fence with the heavy rider. I'm 14.
Oh, well, it's all very interesting. The ponies are yours. Take them. Your father's horse was stolen by a murderous criminal. I had provided reasonable protection for the creature as per our implicit agreement. My watchman had his teeth knocked out and can take only soup.
Well, I will take it to law.
You have no case.
Lawyer J. Noble Daggett of Dardanelle, Arkansas, may think otherwise, is mighty jury. Petitioned by a widow and 3 small children.
I will pay $200 to your father's estate when I have in my hand a letter from your lawyer absolving me of all liability from the beginning of the world to date.
I will take $200 for Judy, plus $100 for the ponies, and $25 for the gray horse that Tom Chaney left. He was easily worth $40. Right, that is $325 total.
The ponies have no part in it. I will not buy them.
And the price for Judy is $325.
I would not pay $325 for Winged Pegasus. As for the gray horse, it does not belong to you.
The gray horse was lent to Tom Chaney by my father. Chaney only had the use of him.
I will pay $225 and keep the gray horse. I don't want the ponies.
I cannot accept that. There will be no settlement after I leave this office. It will go to law.
All right, this is my last offer. $250. For that, I get the release previously discussed, and I keep your father's saddle. The gray horse is not yours to sell.
The saddle is not for sale. I will keep it. Lawyer Daggett will prove ownership of the gray horse. He will come after you with a writ of replevin.
A what?
Writ of
All right,
replevin.
now listen very carefully, as I will not bargain further. I will take the ponies back and the gray horse, which is mine, and settle for $300. Now, you must take that or leave it, and I do not much care which it is.
Well, Lawyer Daggett would not wish me to consider anything under $325. But I will settle for $320 if I am given the $20 in advance. Now, here's what I have to say about that saddle.
Great movie. Great movie. So that is number 5, The New True Grit. Number 4 is Polly's favorite movie. Okay, so I'm taking my own life in my hands by listing this as number 4. It was made in 2000. It was also made by the Coen brothers. I've seen this 20 plus times. Oh, brother, where art thou? This is truly a great movie with so many memorable lines. We thought you was a toad. I mean, there's so many lines in there. Well, I'll only be 84. It's just, you just can't. you have to watch the movie a few times and then just start saying it along with it. But the music, it won, it won Emmys, it won Academy Awards for the music. And again, it was done by the Coen brothers. And one thing I'll say about this movie, this is like a guy that he's on a chain gang, and it's George Clooney who's on the chain gang. And he escapes with two guys who are not as smart as he is, and that's saying something, okay? But he is the smart one in the bunch. And I've always thought, I don't have any particular thoughts one way or another about George Clooney, but I've always thought a lot of him, because anybody that's that good looking, to take a role that makes him look like a doofus, he's got to be a good guy. He's got to be a good guy, because, the role makes him look like a doofus. And it's a brilliant movie. So as they are running and trying to get back to a place that they're, wanting to find this thing, and the whole thing is made based on the Odyssey. The whole thing is based on the Odyssey. So the Coen brothers, who did True Grit, also did this, and so I'm about to show you a scene that as they're escaping and trying to stay away from the law, they're out in the woods, and they're eating on a campfire. Gopher Everett? I just came across a whole gopher village. So, anyway, and as they're eating, this church group, this choir comes filtering through the woods, and they're, down to the river to pray, and they're looking around, they don't know what's going on, and just watch what happens. This is just one of the memorable scenes to me in the movie.
Oh, brothers, let's go down. Let's go down. Come on down. Come on, brothers, let's go down. Down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down, come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers, let's go down. Come on down, don't you wanna go down? Come on, mothers, let's go down.
Well, I guess hard times flush the chump. Everybody's looking for answers. Where the hell's he gone?
Well, I'll be a son of a bitch. Delmar's been saved.
Well, that's it, boys. I've been redeemed. The preacher done washed away all my sins and transgressions. It's a straight and narrow from here on out, and heaven everlasting's my reward.
Delmer, what are you talking about? We got bigger fish to fry.
The preacher said all my sins is washed away, including that Piggly Wiggly I knocked over in Yazoo.
I thought you said you was innocent of those charges.
Well, I was lying. And the preacher said that sin's been washed away, too. Neither God nor man's got nothing on me now. Come on in, boys. The water is fine.
Come on in, boys. The water is fine. Oh, brother, where art thou? Number 4. Great movie. All right, number 3. And I've seen Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou like 20 times. Number 3, now we're getting into the gray area because number 3, 2, and 1 just kind of twist back and forth a lot. But right now, when I wrote this list, this sat at number 3. Made in 1983. I've seen the movie more than 30 times. A Christmas Story. A Christmas Story. Now, let me tell you something. We ain't got a clip on this, but I'm going to give you some lines. First of all, when the movie came out, it did not do well. And I know why it didn't do well. I didn't want to go see it. It had a bad commercial. The commercial was the kid climbing up the slide and Santa Claus putting his foot on the kid and going, "You'll shoot your eye out, kid," which you understand it in context. But as something you go, do I want to go see that? No, I don't want to go see it. And kind of same situation is true. I was with a friend and just like, there's nothing else to watch. But we sat in that theater alone. There was nobody else in the theater. And we laughed out loud at that. Now, I felt that it was very familiar. And it turned out I had read a book. It was written by Gene Shepard. And the book was called In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash. The voice was set, or the book was set, as the movie was set, in the 1940s. And the book is just about childhood as this kid. And there are different scenes that are depicting Christmas. And so this movie took these scenes and put them into one place. And it was a Christmas movie, okay? Now, Gene Shepard was a radio guy and writer. And it is his voice you hear as the narrator in the movie. That's Gene Shepard's voice. He wrote those words, and he's narrating it. And if you remember the television series The Wonder Years, The Wonder Years was just an awesome television series, but it was a direct ripoff of A Christmas Story. Because what you're seeing is you're seeing the kid and what he does. And you're seeing the kid and what he does, and you're hearing what he says. And yet the narrator is playing the part of the kid grown up. And he's telling the story of what the kid's thinking while he is saying this stuff. Now, here's just a particular scene in there where they're out to get a Christmas tree, and the dad has a flat tire. And so he has traditionally changed the flat tire by himself, and he's timed it. And so, but he's out there doing it. And the mom says, Ralphie, the little kid, he says, Ralphie, why don't you go and help your dad? He says, really? Can I? And she says, yeah, go ahead. And so, he goes out and says, what are you doing here? And he said, Mom said it's your help. He says, well, okay, well, And so his dad says, here, hey, tie me in and hold this hubcap. And so he's putting the lug nuts in. And so the dad reaches up and accidentally hits the hubcap with his hand. All right? So Facebook pulled the plug because of the music in the last clip from Oh Brother, which is public domain?
I guess so. It looks like that because all the viewers dropped off on Facebook all at one time. So we might just need to...
That's a public domain song.
I guess someone owns the recording? Let's see. Let me look again.
I'm sorry. For those of you still on Twitter and YouTube and LinkedIn, we'll keep going, and then the Facebook people can come back and watch it on YouTube or something.
All right. So we'll just keep going then.
Okay, we're going to keep going. I'll try not to act mad. Okay, so anyway, the old man reaches up. He accidentally hits the hubcap with his hand, and so the camera slows down, and you see the picture shows this slow motion, and And the narrator says, here's what he says. He says, "For one brief moment, I saw all the bolts silhouetted against the lights of the traffic. And then they were gone, into the snowbank, under the car, down the ravine, into the abyss. And I said it, the word." And then you hear Ralphie say, "Oh, fudge." And the narrator says, "But I didn't say fudge. I said the word, the queen mother of all dirty words." Then the music goes, dun, and his dad's eyebrows go up, and he says, "What did you say?" And then there's the scene in the car where the dad whispers to the mom what Ralphie said, and she goes nuts. And so then the next scene, Ralphie is at home. He's got tears in his eyes, and he's got a bar of Lifebuoy soap in his mouth. And the mother says, "Now I want you to tell me where you heard that word." And Ralphie goes, oh. And mother says, "The truth now, where did you hear that word?" And she takes it out and it takes the soap out. And Ralphie goes, "Arr!" And the mother sticks the bar of soap back in Ralphie's mouth. He says, "Now you're going to take that out. You're not going to take that out until you're ready to tell me where you heard that word." And then as Ralphie's eyes are going like this, he's got the soap in his mouth, the narrator says, "After a while, I got to be quite a connoisseur of soap. My personal preference is for Lux, but I found Palmolive had a nice piquant after-dinner flavor, heady, but just with a touch of mellow smoothness. Lifebuoy, on the other hand..." And mother says, "Are you ready to tell me?" Ralph nods yes, and mom removes the soap. And she said, "All right, where did you hear that word?" And the narrator says, "Now I had heard that word at least 10 times a day from my old man. My father worked in profanity the way another artist might work in oils or clay, the way Michelangelo worked in marble. It was his true medium, and he was a master at it." And then Ralph says, "From Schwartz." And she's like, so he gives up another kid instead of saying his father. But the movie is brilliant because it's the kid, you're watching what the kid does and what he says, and you're hearing the narrator explain what the kid's thinking. And it'll take you right back to your childhood. All right. Number 2. We're not back on Facebook, are we? No. Sorry, guys. Number 2. I don't know how many of you have seen this one, but this is The Legend of Bagger Vance. This was a book that was written by Stephen Pressfield, who wrote Gates of Fire, which that movie was made into the movie about Sparta called 300. But he wrote this book called The Legend of Bagger Vance. It was made in 2000. And I have seen this movie 20 plus times. I don't get tired of this movie. The movie was directed by Robert Redford, and it has in the movie is Will Smith, Charlize Theron, and Matt Damon. Matt Damon is in 3 of my favorite 7 movies, and so Matt, roll that down just a little bit. So he is talking about. Let me kind of tell you what it's about. Bruce McGill is in this. Jack Lemmon, it was the old man, Jack Lemmon's last movie. But as the movie opens, as an old man having his 6th heart attack while playing golf, Hardy Greaves, who's played by Jack Lemmon, contemplates how his late wife used to ask him why he kept playing a game that seems destined to kill him. And explaining his love for the game, he begins the story of his childhood idol, Ranulph Juna, played by Matt Damon. Juna is the favorite son of Savannah, Georgia, a noteworthy golfer from a wealthy family, and his beautiful girlfriend, Adele, Charlize Theron. They are seem to have everything going together. But while serving as a captain in the U.S. Army during World War II, Juna is traumatized when his entire company is wiped out in battle. Though he earns the Medal of Honor, he disappears after the war, returning to Georgia years later as a broken-down alcoholic. Now, at the start of the Great Depression, around 1930, Adele is trying to recover her family's lost fortune by holding a 4-round, 2-day exhibition match between Bobby Jones and Walter Hagen, played by Bruce McGill, the best golfers of the year, with a grand prize, winner take all, of $10,000 at a golf resort her father opened as the Depression struck. However, she needs a local participant to generate local interest. So this young Jack Lemmon, at the end, he's telling a story, young Hardy Greaves, speaks up for his hero, Juna, prompting Adele to ask him to play. And Juna's approached by, as he decides to play, he's approached at night by this mysterious traveler who's carrying a suitcase, Bagger Vance, played by Will Smith, who appears while Juna is trying to hit golf balls into the night. And he identifies himself as Bagger Vance and says he will be Juna's caddy. So with the young Hardy Greaves as his assistant caddy, Bagger helps Juna come to grips with his personal demons and play golf again. Now, before I show you this clip, I want to tell you something about this. The movie was made by Robert Redford. It was made for an $80 million budget, and it made $30,695,227,000. It was not a success. Now, when I saw this movie, I had no idea that it was not a success. I saw it on video and was just kind of blown away with it. I was just blown away at the symbolism in it, at the inspiration, at the characters. I was just blown away. And it immediately leapt to the top of my list. And so then, after being blown away by this movie, I watched it again 2 days later. And I saw a couple of things that I had not seen the first time I watched it. A couple of connections came, oh, that guy is, oh. And then every time I would watch it again, different pieces of the puzzle would click into place. So I had probably watched this movie 10 times at one point, and Sports Illustrated came out with an article that was the cover story of the article, the 100 best sports movies of all time. So I liked Hoosiers, and that's probably a top 10 movie for me, but I remember thinking, wow, I wonder where Legend of Bagger Vance is going to fall on this on this line. And I carefully read all 100 movies, and it wasn't anywhere on there. And then a couple of pages later, they had a list of the top 10 worst sports movies of all time, and that was on there. And I have since read reviews of the movie that they didn't like it. You know, the New York Times said it was horrible. And I hold that movie up as something where I just remind myself not to believe everything that critics say, or not to believe everything that everybody's opinion, but because not only do I think the movie is not horrible, I think it's one of the best things I've ever seen. And so, in any case, this clip we're about to play is Will Smith and his assistant caddy, the little boy who's telling the stories, the narrator of the movie. And this is before the tournament, before those big shots ever get into town, before the tournament's ever in town. And they're out on the course in the middle of the night. And Will Smith is doing some measurements, and listen to the conversation. Just listen to this. This is just a piece of the movie.
Top golfers always tried to get a leg up in the competition by having the men they trusted most sneak onto the course at night and do their own measurements. So Bagger and I walked the course that night, measuring away. Bagger never wrote down a number. He filed it all in his head.
It went a little harder. Let's go and do that again. Yep, right here is where this game is won. Right here on the green.
First you got to see it. Sun gonna be there in the morning, over there in the afternoon. Funny thing is, the blades of grass gonna follow the sun. The grain is gonna shift. That same putt is gonna go one way in the morning, the other in the afternoon. One way in the morning, the other in the afternoon. You see that? Yeah, golf course put folk through quite a punishment. It lives and breathes just like us.
You think Junior can win?
Yeah, if he can find his authentic swing.
Authentic?
Go on, hit one more for me. Yep, inside each and every one of us is one true authentic swing. Something we was born with. Something that's ours and ours alone. Something can't be taught to you or learned. Something that got to be remembered. Well, over time, the world can rob us of that swing and get buried inside us under all our wouldas and couldas and shouldas. Some folk even forget what their swing was like. Some folk even forget what their swing was like. You keep swinging.
But I don't have any balls.
And don't worry about hitting the ball or where it's gonna go. Just swing the club, feel the club. Close your eyes.
Close my...
And you can't make that ball go in that hole. You have to let it. I want you to feel the club rolling off your feel the weight of the club. Sailing on the perfect line, dropping out that line, soft as butter. Listen to the sounds of the night. Just keep swinging that club till you gotta breathe inside each and see every one of us is one rustling through the tree, authentic swing. Just keep swinging that club till authentic swing, part of the whole thing. Something we was born with. Take a deep breath. That's a good thing. To the sounds of the night.
I don't feel a thing.
And just keep swinging that club till you're part of the whole thing. That's a good thing. Can you see it?
Man, it's just, you got to watch it if you hadn't seen it. It's a great movie, and after you watch it again. Okay, we're back to number one. Number one, right now, for me, was made in 1987. I've seen it 20 plus times. A lot of people, this did not hit when it went out, but it has become such a classic that several years ago, a movie studio made their intentions known to remake the movie with a new cast. And literally fans shut them down on the internet. And I have heard this movie called by many different people the perfect movie. It's a story told by a grandfather to a sick grandson. He's reading the book to him, and that's how the story begins. And the movie is called The Princess Bride, made in 1987. Rob Reiner made this film, and one thing that's very unusual about this film today is that today, when you get the cast and crew back together, and the people that made the movie back together, they all still like it. They all remember the great time they had making it. And they thought it was special then, and they think it is special now. Cary Elwes, who played the farm boy and the Dread Pirate Roberts, Cary Elwes wrote a book about making that movie that I highly recommend. And the book is called As You Wish. Okay, so let me see the copy here, Matt. So, oh no. You got the clip? Okay, well, just hang on. I'm going to send it to him again because you're not going to miss this. So just hang on. All right, where is this? See, that's what we get for not checking it before we go on the air so that we know that Facebook's gonna cut us off. Oh man, you're right. Oh, all right, here it is though. Okay, I'm gonna send you this part. Matt, just bear with us. You sat through Facebook screwing us up, so just hang on. Sit there through this. Okay. To Matt. And here we go. Matthew. And there you go. It's going to you. All right, so Matt will get that set real quick. And so this is The Princess Bride. It had Andre the Giant in it. And some of the stories in that book, As You Wish, about Andre the Giant and making that movie are pretty incredible. And Mandy Patinkin is the guy who plays Inigo Montoya, who he is a guy who's on a mission. And I'm gonna show you this scene, or I'm gonna show you the dialogue on this scene, and then play the sword fight for you, and then we're out of here for the day. But the sword fight is the greatest sword fight in the history of movies. And if you read the book about how they made this movie, it took Mandy Patinkin and Carrie Elwes like months of practicing to choreograph this fight. You still haven't received the email? Okay, all right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Maybe just go to the restroom for a minute or something. Where is the sent? Well, it says it was sent. All right, I'm going to try one more time. One more time. Matt L. Okay, I'm sending it right now. I'm listening to the swoosh. You got it. Okay, we got it. So,
introducing T-Mobile.
What was that?
It was the YouTube video. It was the ad before.
You know, this is what happens on live TV, I guess. So, it's not very professional what we have done today, but we're just trying to get the message across. And maybe you can fast forward when you're when you're watching this. But I hate to do it all and not do the #1 movie. So, okay, so here's what happens before I play you the sword fight. It's like a 2-minute sword fight. Roll ahead. Okay, so the Dread Pirate Roberts, as what we're going to see here, the Dread Pirate Roberts, as played by Carrie Elwes, has just climbed to the cliff to get up where Inigo Montoya, Mandy Patinkin, is waiting to kill him. Now, the Dread Pirate Roberts is tired when he gets up there and asks if he can have a moment to catch his breath before he's killed. Inigo Montoya says, "Of course, it's the least I can do." So while the Dread Pirate Roberts sits down and takes off his boots to empty the rocks out, Inigo Montoya asks him, "I do not mean to pry, but you don't by any chance happen to have 6 fingers on your right hand?" And the Dread Pirate Roberts replies, "Do you always begin conversations this way?" And he shows him his hand. And Inigo Montoya says, "My father was slaughtered by a 6-fingered man. He was a great sword maker, my father. When the 6-fingered man appeared and requested a special sword, my father took the job. He slaved a year before it was done." And then he hands the sword to the Dread Pirate Roberts, who examines it and hands it back, saying, "I've never seen its equal." The 6-fingered man returned and demanded it, but at 1/10 his promised price. My father refused. Without a word, the 6-fingered man slashed him through the heart. I loved my father, so naturally I challenged his murderer to a duel. I failed. The 6-fingered man left me alive, but he gave me these scars. The Dread Pirate Roberts says, "How old were you?" "I was 11 years old. And when I was strong enough, I dedicated my life to the study of fencing. So the next time we meet, I will not fail. I will go up to the 6-fingered man and say, 'Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.'" And the Dread Pirate Roberts says, "So you've done nothing but study swordplay?" He says, "More a pursuit than a study. You say, I cannot find him. It has been more than 20 years now. I'm starting to lose confidence. I work for Vicine just to pay the bills. It's not a lot of money." And the Dread Pirate Roberts stands up and says, "Well, I certainly hope you find him one day." Inigo Montoya says, "Are you ready then?" He answers, "Whether I am or not, you've been more than fair." Inigo says, "You seem like a decent fellow. I hate to kill you." And Robert says, "You seem like a decent fellow, too. I hate to die." Then they fight, and here's the sword fight, and then we're gone.
You're using Bonetti's defense against me, huh?
I thought it fitting, considering the rocky terrain.
Naturally. You must expect me to attack with Capaferro.
Naturally. But I find that Tybalt cancels out Capaferro. Don't you?
Unless the enemy has a study, he's a Grippa. Which I have. You are wonderful.
Thank you. I've worked hard to become so.
I admitted you are better than I am.
Then why are you smiling?
Because I know something you don't know.
And what is that?
I am not left-handed.
You're amazing.
I ought to be after 20 years.
Oh, there's something I ought to tell you.
Tell me. I'm not left-handed either.
Who are you?
No one of consequence.
I must know.
Get used to disappointment.
Okay.
Kill me quickly.
I would soon destroy a stained glass window as an artist like yourself. However, since I can't have you following me either. Please understand, I hold you in the highest respect.
You ever wondered what
The Princess Bride, the perfect movie, has everything. Villains, heroes, fair maidens, grandfathers, grandsons, great stories, kissing. It has everything. It just has everything. So, and Billy Crystal. So, anyway, thank you for enduring what became just kind of a mess here, but I think we had a good time. I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. We'll see you Thursday.